We return to the present and Creed officially challenges Ethan to a PvP battle. In that moment, electricity begins flowing from Creed's hand as he starts summoning the NPC of duels. A bolt of lightning shoots into the sky and from it, a figure begins to emerge, revealing herself as Dakin, the NPC of duels. She appears above them, instructing them to declare what they want to receive as the reward for victory. Creed lets Ethan go first to demonstrate his generosity. Ethan continues his act, pretending to be frightened while saying that he wants the potion to be used on Arium. Dakin confirms the bet and then asks Creed what he desires. He simply replies that he wants to steal all of Ethan's stats, under the condition that Ethan wins if he lands 3 hits. Arium is stunned upon hearing what Creed wants, and Ethan reacts, asking Dakin if something like that is even allowed. Dakin replies that he, more than anyone, should know, but Ethan interrupts her, saying that he'll give it a try. She's about to start the battle, but Ethan interrupts her again, saying that the condition of landing 3 hits to win doesn't feel fair. He decides to remove that rule. Creed calls him insane, warning that he can't take his words back once the battle begins. Ethan nervously says that he can't rely on handicaps if he wants to grow stronger. Creed responds that it's better for him that way. The fight will end faster. He's about to start the battle, but Ethan stops him again. He says he wants to add one more rule to the fight. Ethan wants to eliminate the option of surrendering and make it so the only way to win is by reducing your opponent's life points to 0. Dakin says it can be arranged, but only if the opponent agrees. Creed accepts without hesitation, a note of desperation in his voice. Ethan tells Dakin that she's the witness of Creed accepting the rule that the victory condition is reducing your opponent's life points to 0. He starts laughing, warning Creed not to forget that rule. The fight begins, and Creed immediately jumps at Ethan. He draws his sword and aims directly at Ethan's neck. The blade gets dangerously close, but upon impact, it simply snaps. Creed looks stunned, his mind still not processing what just happened, and, in a flash, Ethan bonks him, smashing his head. Ethan yells at him for daring to place a bet with him while loading a powerful kick. His leg sends Creed flying as he tells him that he clearly has no idea who he's dealing with. Creed crashes hard against the shore, causing a massive explosion. The nearby adventurers approach to see what just hit, and they scream in shock upon seeing what seems like a corpse. But even at the edge of death, Creed begins begging for help. His health was below 10 points, and all his bones were shattered. Unlike his prior encounter with H, his pride and ego didn't kick in. Instead, his instincts screamed at him to flee. It felt like he had become a helpless insect, and the difference between him and the person who just crushed him was immeasurable. He lost all will to keep fighting. Ethan quickly approaches and looks down at Creed, who is making incomprehensible noises in desperation. Yet Ethan understands. He's begging for mercy. Smiling widely, Ethan decides to heal him, just so he can beat him again. Casting the perfect heal spell, all of Creed's injuries vanish. Immediately after, Creed starts screaming, surrendering and pleading for mercy. He loses control, even offering Ethan money to spare him. But upon hearing that, Ethan smacks his head again. He gives Creed a taste of his own medicine, pretending to be offended by the offer while stomping him repeatedly. After wrecking his spine, Ethan demands him to speak again, but Creed is unable to respond. Ethan steps closer and pretends he just heard him asking for another healing, while Creed is lost in confusion. Ethan stoically casts heal again and starts preparing for their 3rd round. Upon hearing that, Creed begins sobbing and trembling. He jumps away from Ethan, convinced there's no way he can handle someone like him. Creed even thinks Ethan is a demon, but Ethan isn't even interested in chasing after him. He hears Arium coughing and realizes he's running out of time. Ethan flies above his opponent, thinking Creed got lucky. The only reason he decided to end the match so soon is because there's no time to waste. He charges a devastating kick that slams into Creed's back, smashing him against the ground again. Creed looks completely destroyed, while the adventurers nearby begin recognizing him by his hair and tattoos. The men who were working for H at the shore are shocked. Creed, who was supposed to handle everything, got annihilated. They begin contacting H and live stream the scene. In a hidden room, H sits watching the broadcast, wondering if the red-haired man on the screen is the one he's been hearing about. Ethan explains aloud that Creed just used his own move, provoking opponents by acting like a fool that deserves punishment. It's all an act to extract what he really wants from his target before finalizing the bet. And after sealing the terms, he simply summons the dual NPC and crushes them once they lose composure. Creed, full of fear, apologizes for using Ethan's strategy. Ethan asks him who taught him that, since he doesn't seem smart enough to invent it himself. Creed begins crying and begging. He admits defeat and confesses that H taught him everything. Ethan smirks, finally identifying the person behind the murder attempt. He starts a monologue, certain that H is watching and listening. Ethan asks if H taught Creed about the bet ability and how to properly use it. He finds it completely unacceptable to copy his methods, and casts perfect heal on Creed once again. Creed screams in fear. He thought the fight was over. But Ethan decided to change plans, throwing a punch at him. Ethan congratulates him for taking care of his spot while he was away, while wrecking Creed's face. But now, his glory days are over, because the original creator of that strategy is finally back. Ethan decides to end the battle once and for all, charging his fist with energy and slamming it into Creed's face, launching him into the air while all of H's men watch in disbelief. Creed crashes one final time against the ground, blasting everyone around him into the air. Ethan grabs the phone that was recording the scene and speaks directly to H, telling him that he's next. After that, Dakin announces that Ethan is the winner, and the reward will be delivered immediately. And so, Memories of the Deep is finally used by Ariam. She drinks the potion, and the system notifies her that the temporal paradox status has been removed. The countdown above her head disappears, and she says that her body no longer feels heavy, as if she had never been sick. She begins crying, thanking Ethan from the bottom of her heart. For Ethan, seeing Ariam's smile was more than enough. In her tears, he sees her original name in the game, Arms, and all the adventures they had shared. Memories of how she supported him while he was still climbing through the ranks. Ethan was about to cry too, but he decides to hold back his tears until the moment Ariam regains all her memories. He tells her that Sora must be waiting for them, since they haven't contacted her since entering the dungeon. Suddenly, they hear something approaching, and when they look to the sky, they see a massive fleet of helicopters, planes, and ships heading their way. Ethan is slightly surprised by H's army, but what astonishes him more is how H prepared all of that in case the assassination failed. The other adventurers on the shore can't believe all those jets and warships are approaching their way and decide to escape, since the entire area is going to be swept away. Suddenly, Creed wakes up and is shocked to be alive, but he doesn't understand why everyone is fleeing. But upon seeing the jets, he realizes what H intends to do and bolts away at full speed, not wanting to be erased from existence alongside Ethan. The jets release all their bombs, and the shoreline gets completely obliterated. The explosion is so intense that people in the city can see everything and wonder if a war just broke out. Suddenly, Ethan's face appears on the news, being accused of causing the massive bombing at the port. They also claim that the explosion on the top floors of the Yom Guild was also his doing. They even invited Yom Tong Kim on stage, who is still recovering from Ethan's beating. He begins narrating his story, claiming to be the leader of a guild that protects people, but Ethan Gong appeared out of nowhere and proved to be far stronger. He starts faking tears, adding that his men and even his little brother are in the hospital, fighting for their lives. The news states that Ethan Gong was a sub-10 player until he awakened his class and eventually turned into a ruthless terrorist. Suddenly, they receive a call from an expert who wants to share his opinion. It is none other than H, the leader of the Taegeuk Guild. He immediately declares that Ethan must be at least an S-level player. Apparently, he orchestrated the attack in advance to steal the reward from the dungeon that was under their guild's protection. H says he'll use every resource at his disposal to stop Ethan Gong, boiling with fury over the way Ethan spoke to him through the phone. The news immediately switches to a live view of the bombarded zone and notice several barriers that protected the people. The reporter is amazed that no civilians were affected by the explosion thanks to those barriers and praises H's guild for being prepared in advance. She expresses her gratitude on behalf of all citizens, but H is stunned by the scene he just witnessed and fakes a laugh while taking credit for everything. Ethan was also watching the news from a phone, revealing that it was actually him who cast all those barriers. He spots a camera and asks if they really can't see that it was him who created the shields. The camera focuses on him and starts displaying his words, claiming that he cast the barriers and that H is a fraud. But before Ethan can finish, the connection is suddenly cut. In another room, H throws the camera that was recording him and stomps on it, seething with rage. H has lost his temper from not knowing who Ethan Gong truly is, even with his men investigating him. H doesn't care what it takes. All he wants is to see Ethan kneeling before him. Back on the shore, the ships are quickly advancing, with a pink-haired girl standing on the bow of one of them. She's thrilled to see that a priest managed to block hundreds of bombs aimed at the harbor. But with that power, she's not surprised Ethan was able to defeat Creed. Inside the same ship, a man in white says that Creed was only a 2-star, meaning he managed to max out only 2 of his stats and is far below their level. He adds that a 4-star ranker should be more than enough. A purple-haired woman hears his remark and agrees, still puzzled as to why they sent 4 elite players after Ethan, considering South Korea doesn't even have a 3-star player yet. A swordsman with his face covered is standing on the ship and mentions that H is in good terms with a mysterious person known as M, and since H requested help, They had the obligation to respond. He grips his sword and draws it at lightning speed, launching a strike that reaches Ethan in an instant. Ethan is caught off guard by the swing when it is just centimeters from his face. He manages to dodge the blow but thinks to himself that it's only been 1 year since the world turned into a game, and there's no way that short amount of experience explains that kind of precision. He even got a cut on his face despite having his defense maxed out. The slash that slightly injured Ethan was so powerful that the entire city, and even its inhabitants, were sliced in half. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.